Our goal is not in her.
Hey, hi guys, welcome to the Code Python channel. So in today's video, we are going to learn about Python identifiers and the variables actually. So the Python identifiers here is just like the name used for the to identify a variable, function, class, module, or other objects as well. So by means of what I say here, the names to identify variables, functions, is just give. I'll just start giving an example. So the function which we basically write in Python programming, the codes or the variables which we usually use to define as a container where we usually store our data inside a variable. So those parts as well as the class names, modules and a lot of other objects which we usually code in our Python program gets is being identified as the identifier name or the variable's name which we usually say. So here, identifiers names are also case sensitive. And when I say case sensitive, what I mean by it is, let's just start giving I'll just start giving an example is, let me just write a variable name. I am defining a variable actually here. So this is how we usually define a variable inside the Python. So if I say variable name, and let me just type special variable here. So by this, what I have done is I have created a container basically here, which is holding the value special variable. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna define another variable here with the same variable name as I want to say here. And here what I'm going to say is similar. So you guys can see basically that there's, by the meaning, it is no different. It is actually defining as the same as this. But for Python, these two variables are basically two different variables, because you can see the variable with the first variable name v and after the underscore n is defined in the small letters, whereas when I go for the second variable which is defined here, it starts with the capital V and after the underscore you can see the capital N as well. So this is the basic case sensitive which makes the variable different for Python here. And either let's just take the other example as well. So if I'm typing name and then I'm giving something in this name, let's think like Intel, something like that. And I want to go. I want to give another with the same name, but I'm going at this variable. I'm going to define n as the capital. So you guys can see name, and then I'm going to give del. So you guys can see this don't have different meaning as well when we see, but you guys have to be a little careful when you define any kind of variable, because this can make some difficulty while writing the program, because these two variables are again the different variables. So after this, let's just also understand about we have to follow some rules and regulations while defining any identifiers. So what I mean by that is, so basically an identifier, what we usually define in the Python are following certain rules. So with that, I mean is identifier basically starts with the letters, which might be A2, which might be capital A to capital Z, or small a to small z, and then it might also contain underscore or start with an underscore. So let's just start giving an example. I mean, like basically how we can define the identifier, the valid variables which I can say. So if I say my variable here and I'm not defining any, I have actually defined a variable, I'm not assigning anything to it. So the main intention to this is, let me just show this one, my underscore variable. So this is an valid identifier. You can see it is the letters are from a to small z, and we basically have the underscore as well. And we can do something like this as well. We can start with the underscore and then we can give abc, and then we can assign any value which we would like. So this variable is just like a container which holds some value, guys. Another thing is we can also define something like abc underscore 1. So you guys can see again here I have used abc underscore, and I'm starting to use the numbers as well. So you guys can also use numbers if you like. And so we have seen some of the valid conventions which we can use for Python identifiers, but we have to also keep in mind what are the invalid identifiers which we cannot actually use in our Python program. So the invalid, one of an example of the invalid identifier is 99. So the numbers, cannot start. You cannot basically create any identifier with the numbers only or the digits only. So other thing is, we can also, if I just say this is basically an expression. So you cannot assign anything to an expression. So this is an expression which gives you certain result. So say for example, x I have defined like 2 plus y again is 3. So 3 plus 2 again it makes 5. So this is evaluating to some kind of result and to the end. So we cannot make use as what do you say, you want to keep it as a container basically. So for that purpose we cannot, this is also an invalid identifier. So other than that, the again the one thing we have to be very careful, guys, very careful is about the reserved keywords which actually Python is using. So what I mean here by the reserved keywords is like we cannot use for, if, and those kind of, so with. So this all are again an invalid identifiers. By mean of invalid identifiers, what I mean is this for is already being used by the Python, so you cannot make it, you cannot reuse it. You cannot basically reuse it. Okay. So what I mean by this is you can. There are a couple of other identifiers as well which are already used by Python. So you can see these many identifiers are pre-used, and as, assert, break, class, continue, def. So all these are pre-used. So you cannot use it for any of your identifier names. Like you cannot use it for your function names, you cannot use it for your class names, you cannot use it for your variable name as well. So if you want to see, and if you want to look about this chart, guys, you can easily find it on Google. You can just type it out, reserved keywords for Python, and you'll be easily getting this chart. So you can go through it. I know it's a quite a lot of reserved words to, I mean, like to begin with or to remember with, but it becomes a habit. I mean, like when you start programming, you don't have to worry about these keywords. And so apart from that, I think basically we have covered almost everything, but I just want to also say one few more information which we can basically cover here is, so as you guys can see, I have commented a bunch of lines over here. So I just want to say or explain which kind of conventions can be used for the classes, functions, and variables and constants. So as you guys can see, for the classes, when you start a class name, basically what convention we use here, we call it as a camel case convention. So basically the example we have written here, you can find here, is the person which I have written here. So you can see the first letter is like a capital letter, and then all the other letters goes to the small letter. And the other thing is, like, you can, if you want to write word by word, then the first letter should be the person, and then if you want to add like name, then the first word of the second the first word which is starting, you can make it as capital and then name. So this is also a valid class name. And when you're talking about the function, so when you are making a identifier, or the variable name, the name which you want to write for the function, we usually use snake case in this. So where we usually use lowercase separated with the underscores. And the valid example for it, for the name, is, you can see here, we are using person underscore full underscore name, and you can see all the letters here which have been already used are in the small letters, and they have been separated with the underscore, which basically act as a space. And you can see here we can usually find the person underscore full underscore name is following a snake case kind of pattern, right? And the other thing is, when you are creating any variable name, then you also have to find the same kind of spaces, or the same kind of a snake case kind of thing, so which has lowercase, and they are also separated with the underscores. And I am saying is variable names is like, for the example purpose, you can see person underscore age, right? So person underscore age, again, it is being separated by the underscore, which act as a basic space. So for the function and variables, we don't have much of a difference. For the class, we use camel case. For function, we use snake case. For variable, also we use snake case. And for the constants, and here the constants are just the variables which throughout your program are gonna be remaining the same. So say for example, if which what I mean here is, if I take an example of minimum person underscore minimum underscore person underscore height. So what I mean here is the minimum underscore person underscore height is being again separated by the underscores which act as a spaces here, and then this particular variable is a constant throughout your whole program execution, so it will remain as a constant variable. So there might be many other variables which you are going to, I mean, like keep you want to keep it as the constants, so you can use it. And the naming convention which we use here is we are writing, or we are defining a variable all in the caps. So that's it, guys. I think we have covered everything basically here. How Python identifiers are, what are the Python identifiers, what are the variables, the naming conventions, what are the rules, and apart from that, we also have studied about the reserved keywords and what are the conventions, how are the basic camel case and snake case conventions followed by what identifies here. So I think this might have helped you a lot to understand. So in the later videos, the next video which is going to come out is going to be more on a little side of the variables, which is going to explain variables and the memory referenced in the Python. So I think after that video, we can conclude the variable section, I guess. So until the next video, guys, happy coding.